example, anime, who loves to cook. Those are very important things. And there is still the difference between wonderful dish and a terrible fiscal policy. So it's the mix of policies. How do you mix taxes, which all of you pay? You better be interested in taxes because you are all paying. And whether you are majors in fiscal administration or not, you are paying taxes. You have to be interested. Taxes as well as revenues, expenditures and budgeting, borrowing, because it's a law of economics that your desires, your wants, whether at the personal level or at the national level, are always bigger than resources. Like, what do we want for our country? We want a computer for every child. We want a health center for every mother. We want, what do you want? Want to trip abroad? Do you know that part of the KAAKBAY barangay captains and officials in many local governments is to go abroad? Barangay captains learning how the barangays of Singapore manage their barangays, or the barangays of Los Angeles, California, or the barangays of Hong Kong and Malaysia, etc. manage their affairs. Okay, they learn all about barangays outside. Okay, now fiscal policy is the mix of this policy. By the way, you probably have noticed, those of you who are my students, I'm very fond of things classic. Maybe this is because I'm also classic. These days, 70 is already classic, diba? It's a test of endurance, okay? My favorite author, this was taught to me. So I'm passing it on to you by my professor in fiscal administration. When I was taking the course and I was all of 19 years old, graduate. And Henry says that fiscal policy, decisions about who will pay the taxes, decisions about who will spend money on, decisions about whether we'll borrow money or not, must derive its meaning and directions from the aspirations and goals of the society in which it operates. So what do we want as a country? What do we want as Filipinos? What do we want for our grandchildren and children? Do you want battleships? Do you want guns? Do you want bombs? Do you want champagne? Do you want Starbucks, of course? You want gimmick and all that. And of course, everybody wants Facebook, including myself. So it's really the mix of policies of taxes, borrowing, revenue. Very simple. Public finance, income, output. No long-winded one-page, one sentence, one paragraph definitions, which I used to do when I was teaching before. Now, revenue. Now, you talk about revenue. This is the total income of the government. It can come from taxes. It can come from what we call non-tax revenue. Because government institutions also earn from the sale of its goods and services. For example, non-tax revenue would be when it sells its corporations, so that's a non-tax revenue. When it sells its services, which the citizens do not like MRT, LRT, what else is going up? I wrote once on Facebook that everything is going up, gasoline, cooking oil, transport, what else, SLX, all the Lexus of the world, and including our blood pressure, our blood sugar, yes, but our salaries and our real incomes are going down. We should be the other way around. So, I'll also talk very briefly and challenge the revenue administration in this time. Now, you go to budgeting. Budgeting is, as I said, the basic question: for whom are you preparing the budget? Who are the objects of the budget? And how do you allocate government resources? Right now, everybody is talking about ZBB or zero-based budgeting. You know, during the time of Marcos, that was also the big issue, zero-based budgeting. But right now, people are more interested in alternative budget initiatives. They're more citizens' alternative budgets, and what they call in the international language as participatory budgeting, wherein citizens say what they want the government to spend on. Like 1.6 trillion, where should 1.6 trillion go? This is the 2011 budget. Now, since, as I said, expenditures are always higher than our income, so we go to borrowing. And very important, debt management. I think all of you know how much fun it is to borrow. Somebody texts you, you can borrow at so much percent, no interest, etc. All the same, no interest, and so on. It's so much fun. And once you finish paying on JSLS and SSS, you cannot sit anymore thinking what you will borrow again. It's so much fun. But the tears are during the borrowing payment, the payment of the loans. And this is for debt management. And the final, because we are talking about public finance, which is the public aspect of public finance, the final stage is accountability. Corporations are accountable to their stockholders. The congressman, the senator, the government official, even the barangay captain who goes off to Malaysia or Singapore, or a president who goes around the world and spends over 1 billion pesos on travel funds is accountable. Whether it is a few thousand pesos or a few 100 billion pesos or maybe a few billion pesos. By the way, the budget right now, you can spend as much as 1 billion for travel. So you have the 5 pieces already of the public finance cycle. Now, what are the levels of assessment which I have done? What is the state? Theoretically, if the money of the government, whether it is a local government, whether it is a government corporation like JSLS, or Land Bank of the Philippines, or Congress, or the Senate, since the money comes from us, we want to know what is the state of citizen participation in each of the cycles of public finance. So I described what I did with levels of assessment. I go very quickly on that link. We did FGDs, I did interviews, my students went on field trips, etc. Now, we noted that even on the matter of the definition of what citizens' participation is, government and citizens groups have different definitions. As far as citizens group is concerned, and this came out very clearly in our focus group discussion, they want participation. For example, in civil society, which is watching BIRCs, they want more access on SIM taxes. Like they want that. Or they want more participation. They talk about empowerment. But when we ask government, because we have a parallel FGD with government people in public finance, the interpretation is we're doing comparisons, we're doing citizens' participation, very important that we are doing. We have a website. You want our report? You want to find out what the new taxes are? We have a website, we have information campaign. It's more informing the people. But citizens say it's not that, it's decisions as to what taxes we should pay or as to where government expenditures should go. Now let us go to fiscal policy, because this is the first stage. I've always told my students that the budget is nothing more than a plan in peso terms. Now, do we have a plan? Our medium-term development plan is still in the works, it's still being discussed. But do we have a budget? We have a budget. Therefore, your budget is going ahead with the plan. Therefore, now we are being led by the budget. And when I read the draft late last night, of the drafts on the NPPAG, I was so delighted. And I was so happy to read the opening statements of the NPPAG, where it says that the chapter of fiscal policy says that fiscal policy is interpreted not in terms of giveaways or giving or making people dependent, etc., etc. That is the overall fiscal policy. Unfortunately, But you have a budget which has been passed into law, which provides for 21 billion in traditional cash transfers, which is twice the budget. And all of us who are environmental freaks, because it is also who's passionate and blood and so on and so forth. The DNR budget is only 10 billion. And you can see very clearly where the priorities are. The priorities are led by what the budget says, because it just happens we already have a budget. And so I'm saying, for example, the current NPPDP, because it has not yet been changed, is very, very clear. Again, we are from the coalition people will love this, because it states very clearly we have balanced the national budget in 6 years. This is the GMA budget. Reduce the consolidated public sector deficit with the GDP from 6.7% to 1%. Reduce the ratio of public sector debt GDP from 156 to 90%. But what happened in 2010? Our debt is so much bigger and the numbers are so much bigger. But this is the plan. So you can see a very clear disconnect between what we declare as our plans and which we cry over. How will we go? You should read the draft. It's so beautiful as to what we want for our people. But the best test of the sincerity of government is the competitive budget itself. What is the budget? Now, what do citizens group say? And I already said that they're very clear they want participation in matters of taxes. For example, they're not very enthusiastic about the value-added tax, because there have been moves, there have been advice, given that the value-added tax should increase, because it will hit everybody. But they are also for sin taxes, because those who sin, of course, can afford their sins. And I'm sure they will be willing to pay for their sins. Now, at the level of fiscal policy, what is the state of citizen participation is practical enough, and I should know because I have been involved with fiscal policy. It is formulated by the budget for the DDCC. This is chaired by the DPM, Department of Finance, BIR, Customs, Bureau of Treasury, NEDA, and the Banco Central's members. No citizen participation. That is the policy. Now, you discuss there what are the size of the deficit, the sources of financing, etc. All things which are of importance to us. Because we want to have a say on whether we should be paying for taxes. We want to have a say in what kind of services we want. Now, what is the assessment of citizens' participation in revenue administration? The most pressing issue in revenue administration is the issue of direct vis-a-vis indirect taxes. Direct taxes, again, simple definition. This was taught to me by the Director of the National Tax Research Center, Dr. Wingo. Direct taxes are taxes which hit you directly. Indirect taxes are taxes which hit you indirectly. So therefore, when you talk direct taxes, these are taxes on your income. So kayong mga estudyante, all of you who are jobless, you are not hit by direct taxes. All of you who don't have property, you are not hit by direct taxes. Don't have business, you are hit by direct taxes. So indirect taxes, all of us pay for it. Because the definition is it's the final consumer goods. Finally, it's all added to the price. And the Constitution itself is very, very clear. The rule of taxation shall be uniform and equitable. Congress, and I'm very happy to have members of the Congress here, shall evolve a progressive system of taxation. So we are supposed to have a progressive. What is a progressive system of taxation? When you rely more on direct taxes than indirect taxes. Because the principle of equity is those who benefit, those who generate wealth, those who are happily served by the government should be paying more. Those who have more in income should be paying more in taxes. Now, I have two tables, and you can get it from me later. And these were generated by one of my students, who is right in the belly of the I will not say the least, but of the Department of Finance. I love the Department of Finance. I was from there myself. The proportion between direct taxes to be paid with those of income and property by government services, 43%. Indirect taxes, 675 or 56%. When I was a child, indirect taxes accounted for more than 80%. So it's now lesser. But still, and what does it mean? It means that all of us taken together, including the very poor. It is not true that the very poor, those are not paying taxes because they should. For as long as you are alive, for as long as you are eating, you are paying taxes. And even when you are dead, you pay taxes because you pay VAT for your mortuary plans and your elaborate homes and so on. Now, I have a table here which shows the breakdown, but let's do it again. Two tables. It's very clearly shows, these are official tables, 43% for direct, 56% for indirect. So if we pass more VAT, more indirect taxes, then we are going to increase that. So what do the citizens say? Citizens say, revenue, there should be public power. It should never be a one-way street of giving it. It should be participation. And citizens groups, I assure you, you are not surprised because you are citizens yourself. They know that the public is resource. They know more and more people know that they are going taxes. As I said, once is also lobbying for an increase in state taxes. One of them is lobbying with Senator Diliman. Number one, the real out social watch is for state taxes if you want more revenues. And all this. Now, how about expenditure policy and budgeting? Of all the phases in public finance, it is the public budget which has been perhaps the greatest level of execution. The most frequent, the most sustained. And it's not only in the Philippines, but all over the world, participatory budgeting is now accepted as essential to democracy. You cannot talk about democracy if people don't participate in the most important decisions about money, decisions about finance. You talk about the babies and the mothers, you talk about the dolphins and the whales and the birds. You have to have money to be able to do that. And this is why the money side is very important. Now, you have a budget process. Again, this is very academic. Budget stage, budget stage, budget. Now, the level of budget, what is the state of the budget? Now, we have a 1.6 trillion budget. I will not ask you how many zeros there are because this is an educated audience. You know how many zeros there are in 1 trillion. Your 10 fingers will not be enough for counting the zeros in 1 trillion. So you have a system funding of 1 billion, these are lump sums, public-private partnership, 15 billion, 1 billion public funds, huge amount for intelligence, etc., etc. Now, citizens' participation in budget preparation is very limited. Although right now, starting June January 2012, the Department of the Budget has been inviting civil society groups to listen and have dialogues with government. Historically, there has been very